I don't know why people keep saying this, but every time I go on the internet and YouTube, everyone always says that coworkers are not your friends. Part of that I can agree with. It just kind of depends on where you work, the culture, the people around your age, and the environment of where you work at. There's a lot of factors that go into it of why coworkers are just coworkers. However, I like to disagree for the most part. I still have old coworkers from old jobs to this day that are still in my life. There are coworkers who turned into friends, and I still talk to them and hang out with them till this day. So why does everyone turn the whole coworker relationship so black and white? Like they just kind of treat work and friends separate. And I can get that, but sometimes things overlap and it's not always one way or the other. It's okay to have coworkers and turn them into friends. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't see why people just keep complaining about it every time they go to their job. I understand you might want to keep to yourself, and I understand that to some extent you'll have to let your walls down, and eventually, with some people, you'll have to do that if you want to make friends and get into a relationship and so forth. I understand that there is work politics too, and that drama is always going to be something that is always part of work. And if you don't want to get involved in that, I totally understand. However, something I learned is that there's always going to be something happening at work, some drama, some relationship stuff, some people hooking up with each other, or it is what it is. It's just kind of how it works. You're around these people all day for 5 days a week. So there's bound something to happen. We are humans. Something always happens between us. However, though, that kind of just makes it easier for you to know who to avoid. Or if you do like the drama, then kind of just be my guest and I don't know, tack onto it and add on to it if you really want to. And if it is always going to happen anyways, like the drama and all that stuff, then kind of just ask yourself this. Why does it matter? Why does it matter if they know specific information about you and people know about it? Why do people get so offended when they have like particular information about them? I know it can get spread around through the work environment and it can kind of become a pain in the ass, but I don't know. I feel like that's just kind of an ego thing of why people get so offended. Like, let your ego go and kind of own up to it if it is true. I think once you stop, like, I don't know, in my experience, it's if you kind of turn it into a joke, I think once you do that, people kind of just stop talking about it anyways because they realize that you just don't care and they just stop. They can't really get a reaction out of you anymore because you just turned it into a joke. Or you just simply just don't care, like, oh, yeah, that happened. What of it? Life goes on. That's kind of how I go about things when I go to work. And it doesn't really, I don't know. People like take it too seriously when people know some information about them and it turns into like work drama and stuff like that. Like, for example, I have hooked up with multiple coworkers in the past, and sometimes it doesn't always end well, and that's okay. And it does definitely take a little mental toll when you're at work because you do have to see these people or hear about them or whatever. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, this cannot like drive my success just because I hooked up with someone and people know about it and stuff like that. And I don't know. Something I kind of realized too at work is that it's easier to make friends at work because you guys are next to each other all day. You have to complete the same tasks. You have the same problems in the same place. So there's already stuff to talk about. And then once you kind of get over that like basic coworker mask and stuff, you kind of start talking about your personal lives and stuff like that. And some people do like to take their personal lives like out of the picture when they are at work and just kind of get it done and over with. But I don't know. It's just so boring when it's like that when you just have coworkers. And personally, I don't like working for someone else anyways, but I'm gonna be here all day, so I might as well kind of make it a little bit entertaining, kind of make it a game, try and make some friends out of it. Like, why do people take work so seriously when they don't even like their own job? There are some people who make work just for work, and to be honest, those are the worst type of people to be around because they don't know anything else besides work. Like they don't even know how to interact with people because they just sit there at their computer and do what they're supposed to do and do what they're told to do, which makes me kind of think you're like a pawn and you don't have any aspirations besides this job, which I think is kind of sad. But I mean, you do you, and if you want to be that way, then so be it. I understand that you want to do well, but you can do both. At least that's what I learned at my last job. It's okay to crack a joke with coworkers. It's okay to hang out with them outside of work and maybe get a drink or get some food. That's what I do with some of my coworkers. Or we go out to the bars or something like that and just kind of hang out, listen to some music, or people have like get-togethers and everything like that. Like, why do people get so irritated when you start to make friends at work? It's like you're not supposed to do that. And personally, I think that's just a bunch of bull crap. Even when I got laid off or I quit a job, there are still people that I hang out with or that I still consider friends to this day. Of course, I can't always see them because once you become an adult, it starts to get more difficult to see people, especially if you have like multiple friend groups and stuff like that. Of course, that level of friendship is going to be different between, who you talk to and other people, but you can still make friends. This was just something I thought about the other day because I always see people complaining about coworkers and their work environment. And I hate to break it to you, but you did apply for this job and you kind of understood what was going to come out of it. And that's just part of work. It doesn't really matter where you work. This is going to be something that's always going to happen. So you might as well make the best of it. And I know it kind of sucks, but that's just something I kind of realized is that I've worked at multiple jobs. To be honest, I've been a job hopper for most of my early 20s because I was just trying to figure out some things. And the drama is always going to be there. The relationship issue is always going to be there. There's going to be people hooking up with people. There's going to be those terrible managers. And that's just how it is. They always say that coworkers can't be friends because they're just acquaintances and you only see them at work. But why does it have to be that way? I don't really see the point for that. I mean, you're going to be around these people for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, assuming you work that typical, 9 to 5 or whatever, then you should at least try to make some friends and I don't know, make the most of it and just, I don't know, you need to make work fun because if it's not fun, then it's soul sucking and it's very hard to actually get through the day when these coworkers are just coworkers. Especially now that everything is digital and no one really sees each other anyway. At least this is what I see on YouTube is that a lot of the topics are about loneliness and everything like that, and people keep taking human interactions for granted, especially nowadays where everyone is just complaining that they're lonely or they don't have any friends, especially when they get older. But they act like this in every situation where they don't want to make friends, even if it's like coworkers or maybe just talking to someone at, I don't know, when you're getting your coffee or when you're talking to like the waiter or the waitress when you're getting to get food. So the only thing you can really blame is yourself. And I don't know why people take this so personally. And I don't know, it's not that deep when it comes to work. Um, at my old job, there was one person I was kind of talking to, and she was like, she's like, well, we're not really friends or stuff like that. And I was just like looking at her, I'm like, why does it really matter that way? And then like, there's one time she pulled me aside because people were like talking about me or whatever. I don't really know why, but well, this is before I got laid off, but she said that like the company was like after me or whatever, which I guess they were in some kind of way. But she told me, she's like, I'm only telling you this because I care about you. And I was like, well, clearly you're kind of sending like mixed signals, right? Because you just told me that you don't want to be friends like 2 weeks before, and now you're telling me that you care about me. And I was chatting with her, and honestly, she can be kind of moody, but and it didn't really bother me if you were moody at work because it's fucking work. But I don't know. I just felt like it doesn't have to be like one way or the other. Like the other day, I got brunch with one of my old coworkers because he had a day off and I haven't seen him in a while, and he's still a homie. And personally, I miss some old coworkers because they're homies. And I don't know. So when people complain that they're lonely or they don't make friends at work or anything like that, the only person you can blame is yourself. Like it's not that deep. You guys either become friends or you don't. Stop overthinking it and enjoy your life. Enjoy your crummy job as much as you can because I know for a fact coworkers can make or break a job that you're at. If you're at a job and you hate it and you hate the people around you, oh my god, it's going to be impossible to wake up every single day and want to go there. But if you can make some friends and kind of make it a little more enjoyable, then the job is not as, terrible as it seems. Anyways, those are my thoughts about this topic. It was pretty, brief and straight to the point. However, I did want to talk about this and kind of take a different perspective than most people about this topic because everyone likes to complain about their coworkers and their job. And I understand that, but not everyone's always going to be like that when you go to a workplace. But anyways, guys, as always, everything is in the description if you do want to support me and my other creative endeavors. Like, comment, subscribe if you would like to, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheerio.